The number of ideas we hear here from you, and hopefully you hear from us, create such a great energy that I always look forward to those events.
I would like to thank Barbara for doing an extremely excellent job at presenting our report out. Also, I'd like to thank the team for having a very involved discussion on how we can improve our product. A couple of takeaways for me is that not necessarily design sessions help us design the next features. It also helps us eliminate some of the items that we shouldn't be designing, which is the word storyboarding. We will implement some of this functionality in Content Creator, which will hopefully make your life easier. Thank you very much.
When we were asked to present on administration and distribution, we were actually really excited at MEA, actually for two reasons. One, since we collaborated with Viewpoint about 3 years ago on e-learning, and the transition into e-learning actually really changed the focus of our organization. We went from a membership organization really into a highly regarded training organization in this industry, and that is huge. And second of all, our whole administration and distribution of the system is so unique. And so I'm really excited to share that with you, and hopefully we'll get some comment and feedback on that. So.
We were definitely up for the challenge. We worked through the whole instructional design process of coming up with the objective and taking a look at what we wanted to accomplish with the course. Did a storyboard in about 30 minutes with Dr. Mo's help, which we were able to do on a flip chart, and then we're able to go right into Content Creator and start building out the pages with help from Sarah, and there were a couple of other people that were helping us in the room as well.
And I'll ask the whole team, what was easy and what was difficult about what you did?
I think part of it was because we had such a time frame. We had a tendency to want to go to solution before we got through the structure, and we kept we'd get into something and say, okay, but wait a minute, let's go back and get our objectives and get the course laid out a little more so that we make sure we have the structure right, which is why we don't have as much of the text in. We said, we'll wait and we'll let Roman and Sarah do that. And then I told them not to do that because I wanted to make sure they came to dinner. So, but that was a challenge.
And I think your team had Content Creator experience?
Yeah, I ended up having to drive, so I was the Content Creator, though. You guys had a lot of extra help on Team A, it sounded like.
It was pretty intense in your room. You had a very specific communication style. It was just completely silent most of the time. You could hear a pin drop and 7 people looking at the screen while Susan was typing stuff in. So how was communication overall in your group?
Actually, it was pretty good. I think the hardest part we had was actually how we wanted to word our objectives, so that it wasn't too complicated, but it wasn't too informal, so they got the point across. And then everyone was really good about throwing out ideas, and we took a look at each idea really quickly and said yay, nay, and moved right on. And then we would actually started putting some of it actually in the Content Creator when we had time.
Judges are having a painstaking discussion to pick, so the jury's not out yet.
Okay, well, first of all, I thought both teams. This here for you. Yeah. I thought both teams did an excellent job in getting something done. But team number 2, I thought was more effective in the visual, opening visual and the closing visual. The brownies blasting is something that can be used for a lot longer than the month of February, but Cupid with the heart is too time sensitive to February. So I thought that from that perspective, team number 2 had a more impactful display of content. And I also like the fact that team number 2 had a descriptive steps in the outline. And so by looking at it, my first thought was that team number 2 should really be the winning team. But I then looked and thought, and we collaborated and thought together, looked at how much instructional design, what was the methodology behind it. And I'm of the opinion that team number 1 displayed more upfront thinking and structure and instructional design thinking. As a result, although the end course did not look as good to me in its output, in terms of its substance, I think that there was it was stronger. Therefore, I chose team number 1.
I thought you both did a great job, especially given the time restraints that you had, and in some cases the limited knowledge and experience with using the VLS system. So let's talk about Team A. I really enjoyed your presentation. I thought your setup was really clear. You knew what you wanted to do. I really liked the fact that you had early and consistent assessment and feedback. I agree with what was said before about your flow, but you could have used better graphics. I really liked the fact that you utilized SMEs and put an emphasis on instructional design. Team B. I thought your presentation was very engaging, and I thought that the piece was engaging to the audience as well. I mean, if I was a student taking both of those classes, I probably would have been more engaged by Team B's presentation. I thought you had a good use of test questions at the end and a nice variety. I liked the closing page, but you didn't give any feedback along the way, and I do agree with what's been said previously that from an instructional design standpoint, admittedly it was kind of an afterthought and kind of choppy for your team, whereas for Team A it was in the forefront. They started with that, and when you think about it, you could have a really visually engaging piece, but if there's no instructional design, will the learner really walk away with any transfer back to the workplace? So, with no further ado, Team A.
Great. So, well done, Team A. Team A, why don't you come up and collect your prizes, Mary Grace? And why doesn't Team B come up too?
Congratulations to all members of Team A. You're hired. Congratulations.
Thanks. I forgot to say, you're hired. Who else is running on? Thanks a lot. Let's just get... Ty, how do you feel? Any last things to say?
Well, this is a tough. I think both teams were in a tough spot, and I think we were both able to come up with some pretty good ideas about how to use the tool, which was the purpose of the activity. So it's good. Good experience.
Thanks a lot, Ty's team. And Margaret, any last comment?
I always get very emotional about like 2-3 days together. At the end, it always you feel like it's ready. You're ready to go at the same time. You've had fun. You've met other individuals, and there's this one moment of it's all ending. But basically, one of the things that I wanted to do is thank you for not only being part of the live forum. That I know it's a huge step, especially with cost-cutting companies that are always careful to travel and to come to meet together. But it does add so much to what we do online. Once a month online, I think that's a great connection point. The SWAT teams, hopefully you'll invite our SWAT teams to come spend time with you, or sometimes the reverse, where you call, you say, we'd like to come follow up on what was done at a live forum or at a virtual forum at Viewpoint offices. Those can happen either on the East Coast, West Coast, or for those of you once in a while wants to visit Europe, we can do it in our Brussels office as well. So, but we want to make sure that continues. One of the other things is not only here we're building together a lot of value and knowledge that we can impart to others, and the sum total of what we know is probably greater than just the aggregate of what we bring. But at the same time, there's a whole people side of things that makes things go forward. I really wanted to thank specifically Haig Armaganian and Haig Barrett for bringing a different level of professionalism around our forums. Mike Goodfitch has been running our virtual forums, the whole team with Emma behind it, getting ready for such events, and we're trying to heighten the quality of what we do in this forum so that they truly start integrating into a lean process of development. So Haig and your team, thank you. You've done a tremendous job. And with this, it's a nice day. Let's go. We're done.